Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Fire Up. Great broadcast by pundits fun that leading up to it, George. We had a whale of a time talking about some pretty cool topics, didn't we?
Yeah, we sure did. Yeah, great show.
Right now, we're on the back end of our doubleheader. We welcome the newest regular, and I said newest regular to Fire Up, Jeremy Ballrick. This is a show that I know you're going to put your stamp on it when Ralph Williams returns next week. But either way, you have now been appointed a permanent part of this Thursday night crew. We're glad to have you. I know that you'll be able to do a lot of good things as you have on all the other shows. And as I mentioned in the promotion, everybody on this network has to be very versatile, and you've certainly demonstrated your ability to do that. With that said, my longtime partner in crime, George Eichhorn, well, our last one for the night, anyways, as my voice starts to get a little
Yeah,
hoarse.
yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm glad to be here tonight. Got a great show lined up.
Yeah, we sure do. And of course, the star of the show here is Torri Harmon. And Torri's going to talk about his experience with the Kansas City Chiefs once he gets situated. Very good. Okay. And we're all looking forward to it. I'll go over the agenda with you real quick. I'll go over the things that Torri and I talked about. And then, since my voice is starting to really feel it by the hoarseness, Jeremy and George are going to have to pick up the slack for the remainder of the broadcast. But before I go ahead further, I want everybody to know the Fire Up is being broadcast around the world. The audio version of Fire Up can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcasts. Please hit the red subscribe button on YouTube, South Florida Tribune. We're striving for 1,000 subscribers. Please also comment, like, and share the broadcast. Want to be a guest? Please feel free to participate in the chat room or send topic ideas to southfloridatribune@gmail.com. If you want to advertise cost efficiently, call me at 954-304-4941. We broadcast live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Our website, www.southfloridatribune.com. Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, that Tribune South, Canadiana, Blaine's behind the scenes. I want to give you a book update first before we go any deeper. All right, the book I've been working on all summer has now been officially titled Old School versus New School Media is what it is. Now, the textbook that I'm working on is Adjusting the New Media. I will be the author of not one, but two books. I'll give you release dates coming up as they progress. But we're getting in the final days of this whole thing where I should have everything wrapped up, and then it takes the next step toward publishing. So just want to give everybody a formal update on that as well. So I'm really excited about this show. And every time I bring Torri Harmon on, my prodigal son, it makes it even more special than that. All right. With that said, Torri, we're going to talk about your experience in Kansas City getting there.
Getting there. Whew. Well, Scott, you know how I was trying to get there, get that opportunity to get there first and foremost.
Right.
I definitely got to give you, so much props and so much love for, giving me an opportunity to put my story out there in the beginning. For other people like me who, dreams, you're fighting for your dreams, you're living for your dreams. And sometimes you don't think it's going to come true, but you're going to keep fighting for them anyway, So you got to be in reality a little bit, till it actually happens. And when it actually happened, here we can, Kansas City Chiefs, 2022 World Champions. You really can't ask for nothing better than that. So, with that being said, getting there, it was a hard struggle, true discipline. Just getting myself together and me building myself in a way that I just felt like I had to, I had to be kind of good at everything. I didn't want no excuses. So when I do get there, it wouldn't be no excuses. And it was able to show a little bit in every aspect of the organization once I did get there.
All right. Torri, you're going to have to speak up a little bit louder, please.
Oh, a little bit louder.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Can you hear me? Can you hear me more? Can you hear me better now?
Yeah,
much better.
Okay. Yeah. So actually getting there, it started a couple of years ago, to be honest, with the legendary Mr. John Wooden. Mr. John Wooden has been a mentor of mine, a teacher of mine for a couple of years, and he's reached out to several people to get no response, which kind of shocked him a little bit. So by shocking him, I never gave up and I kept fighting. So it happened, I could say the week of the AFC championship game, I'm sending emails to coaches in the NFL just to try to get somebody to respond or say something. So on a Wednesday, right before the AFC Championship game, all of a sudden, I get a response from Coach Andy Reid, which shocked me. It blew my mind, first of all, that he responded. You know what I mean? That he actually took time in preparation for the AFC Championship game to respond to me. You know what I mean? Just somebody just trying to find a way. So, but he did tell me in that email that we was going to catch back up. Let's get together after the season. You know, once everything kind of calmed down. So, of course, we all know they won the World Championship, won the Super Bowl. Patrick Mahomes was the MVP. After the combine and everything happened, I kind of reached back out to him once things settled down, and Mr. Wooden reached back out to him as well. You know, so I got to give him the credit for that as well too, because he put us on the text together. And all of a sudden he was like, well, I'm looking forward to seeing him. And I'm like, so hold up now, coach. Now you saying you're looking forward to seeing him. And I like, is this for real or is this for play? You know what I'm saying? Don't play with me right now. You know what I mean? So he was like, no, I'm going to give you my assistant's info. And I want y'all to get together and he'll get everything situated. So with that being said, right before the mini camp, the first mini camp after the draft, they gave me a call and they told me they wanted me to do the Bill Walsh minority internship for coaching. So of course I accepted with no problems. Yes, sir. I will do it. Anything else I need to do, sir. You know what I mean? So in anticipation for that, I'm preparing myself, you know, to be up here for training camp, to be gone for a month and a little bit over a month or so, not knowing what to expect, but just going in there with the mind frame of I want them to find out who I am, you know, and know who I am. So now that was the biggest. It felt good. That was the biggest feeling to know that I had that opportunity coming. So once that time came, in July 16th. Hit, which was my departure date from Florida to go to Kansas City. I almost cried a little bit, but I held it in. But I was just anxious and ready.
All right, we'll move on to the next thing. You got there, you saw, had a chance to see everything and be around everybody. Let's talk about the length of the program and then your final game.
Well, the length of the program was from training camp all the way up until the first game, the first preseason game. Okay. So even with being that, getting there, I mean, NFL, what more can I say? It was A1 all the way across the board. You know, the crazy part, they overfeed you in training camp. They overfeed you. So everywhere you go, you got, man, juice, smoothies, snacks, everything. Like I'm talking about gourmet food in the morning, in the afternoon for the coaches, and I'm talking about it. I'm shocked.
Uh-oh.
Well,
okay, pretty good so far.
You be like, sure, Coach, we can eat all this, like, you know what I'm saying? This for us. Coach like, you better eat up around here now. You know what I'm saying? Like, eat up. And, you know, Coach Andy Reid, you know, he loves hamburgers, and I'm a hamburger fanatic too. So we having good here. He got all kinds of hamburgers there. You know what I'm talking about? So, but, you know, just the crazy part is once I got there, you know, first person I see come through the door with their suitcase was Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
You know, and this is with the rookies now. So he reported with the rookies. And firsthand, you know, I didn't say nothing to him because all the cameras was out there following them in and doing all that type of stuff. So I ended up walking to the facility, and all of a sudden, there he is. He's sitting there. He already over there, just kind of getting everything together in his locker. So I'm like, "What's up, Pat?" Like, you know, I'm interning here, and so he and literally sat down and just started talking to me like he'd known me for 20 years or so. So I'm like, I'm just sitting here like, you know who you are? I'm sitting here just talking to you like I'd have known you for a while. And he carrying the whole conversation. You know what I mean? Very humble guy. And to come to find out, I really kind of see why he's number one in the world. you know, with the Kansas City Chiefs as well. The Coach Reid, the organization, the coaching staff, the support team, everybody that's a part of it is A++.
Very good.
A++.
Okay, so we talked about the length of the program, and then obviously you got to the first preseason game. Were you at that first preseason game, or what, did
Yes,
you not?
sir.
So
Yes,
you did
sir.
have. And where was that game held at?
New Orleans.
Okay, so you got to be in the New Orleans Superdome. Okay,
Yes, sir.
as a part of it. I've had some incredible memories there for sure, seeing a lot of football games. So onwards we go. We talked about the point of coaching and starting to be able to coach them, and you indicated Patrick Mahomes and Traviskelce. So, it seems like to me, everything I've read, that Patrick Mahomes is a very humble individual, and Traviskelce. Tell me a little bit about both of those two guys.
Well, Pat, let me say, Pat, he one of the first things he told me, he said, Coach, I'm gonna try not to cuss all the players out for messing up. You know what I mean? I'm gonna try not to cuss them out so bad. I'm gonna try to be good. So I was like, no, let them have it now. They need it, let them have it. You know what I'm saying? Don't take your leadership off hat, because I want to hear it. I want to hear who you are,
Right.
like literally. But the crazy part is, I'm gonna tell y'all this: when Coach Reid is doing the install with this big book right here full of plays, all right, when he's doing the install, Coach Reid is up going through the plays. He don't just sit down and, all right, I'm just saying this is what's going on. He's up describing, going through it. And as he like to say, that son of a buck, because we know he don't cuss, you know what I mean? But he was like, yeah, that son of a buck and Fast and Furious, I need you to scream, choop. He just going through each route like it's nothing. So he's asking Pat certain questions about certain plays and when would he run them. And I'm gonna ask you a question, Scott, and as quick as you can answer.
Okay.
That's how quick he answers. So I'm gonna ask you a question.
Oh,
and I want you to answer this question.
All right.
What's your first name?
Scott.
That's how quickly he answers those questions.
Well, now I've been called a lot of other things, but to answer your question, your Motor City Madmouth, Scoop, depending on what networking group you go to. I want you to flash that book up again. I want to see it again. They let you keep it.
Thank God. And that's how I know I'm gonna end up going back.
What's that?
That's how I know I'm gonna end up going back for good.
Yeah, they don't release that stuff too much, which is good. We'll get into that. All right, so let's go on and talk about what it was like working with Andy Reid.
Hold on. I got to say this first. First of all, when I first got there, we had the first coaches meeting that Monday morning at the facility, and I was the first person he greeted. Like, he walked in the building, walked in the meeting room, and I'm standing there talking to one of the other coaches, and he like, "Hey, Torri, you talking to me?" Like, I want to hug you, you know what I'm saying? So I want to hug you. So, end up shaking his hand, hugging him and stuff like that. And he ended up bringing all the interns up to kind of talk, introduce themselves to the coaching staff and stuff like that. And I was first. So he was like, "Don't start us off and let us know who you are and where you're coming from and so forth, so on." So, of course, everybody went down through that. And when I was able to once we got into camp, I was able to talk to him one night in the hallway. He was walking down the hallway.
Right.
And I said, "I'm going to try to talk to you without getting emotional or whatever," because I know all I saw was his aura. I'm like, this is really Coach Andy Reid right here. This man is legendary right here. So we end up talking for a minute. And of course, I couldn't hold my emotions. I bust out the crying. So he started shaking my hand and patting me on my shoulder and my back. He like, "You good? I'm happy you're here. I just want you to get this experience, let you see what we can do and let us see what we can do with you." You know what I mean? And that felt good. So when I say he's A1, he knows every single thing. He pays attention to detail. The crazy part is, even when I had my hat on at practice, I had it flipped up like this at practice. Yeah. And he looked at me, he said, put the hat down. I said, oh, my bad. Yeah, I'm sorry. But yeah, you know, so when I say he pays attention, he actually pays attention to every single little thing, and he know everything that's going on around him, and who he has around him as well. So it felt good to know that I was one of the ones he was letting to be around him, you know what I'm saying, and learn from. And he
Has he
asked me,
ever done? So
did
has
he
he
what?
ever gone out there and given you advice about what Kansas City barbecues to go there? Because I was at Kansas City, I enjoyed the barbecue out there.
Oh my goodness. He several hamburger places, and the crazy part is they had a couple of caterers from different barbecue spots throughout camp.
I figured that.
Yeah, so they had some barbecue, a lot of barbecue, some trucks, some food. I mean, like, so he treat, you know, hey, they got the food trucks out there, we got the catering going on, and that barbecue was great. It
Oh
was
yeah.
great, you know, definitely that. And but Coach Reed, I mean, I really can't express the gratitude and the thanks that I had for him. I had to send you the picture that we took before the game because I was talking to him in New Orleans before, like the night before the game. So he was like, he said, "Are you coming to the game tomorrow? Cause you talking to me like you finna leave." Like I said, "No, I'm gonna be there." He was like, "Oh, okay." He's like, "You ain't like you finna leave and go somewhere. You can't go nowhere yet." So, man, he took care of everybody. He made sure everybody felt the part. You know, he asked our opinions in a lot of things, uh, just so you know we can definitely feel a part of being a part of the organization and training camp.
All right, getting a little bit of chat room activity. You know how much I enjoy that. All right, Blake, thanks for being back. What's going on, Blake? We got Torri Harmon and you, because you're a part of the broadcast. I'm glad to see you again, Blake. We're going to get increasingly busy over the next couple weeks. As of late, I haven't been able to do as many broadcasts because I've been working on a couple books. For those of you just joining us, I am working on my first regular book called Old School Media versus New School Media, and I'm putting the finishing touches, and it goes to editing as well as other stages, and we have a lot of great pictures in that. The second book that I am writing right now, or should actually pretty much be complete because they go hand in hand, is Adjusting to New Media. So as everybody continues to go out there and come on these shows, I'll give you regular updates. And another one of my favorite, so Blake, I'm so glad that you're back on. It means a lot. And Joshua, you always have a special place in my heart. Joshua Dore, yeah, he's there. Of course, George Eichhorn and I know another Joshua
Oh,
Dore.
I,
Oh, we're
I'll
not getting
never,
into that, George.
never forget that.
Only because Corey's on a roll. Joshua says, amazing, good stuff. Be more amazing when we get together. And Blake, glad to hear. You know what, my friend? I'll give you the way to get it, and I'll be more than happy to autograph it for you. So I love this kind of chat room. Torri Harmon, folks, is a feel-good story. I go back quite a few years with Torri when I worked in internet radio with one of my old colleagues, Peter Ween, and I found him on, excuse me, I believe it was LinkedIn, right, Torri? Right? Well,
LinkedIn.
that's just to show you, folks. LinkedIn is a very good tool. I've really gone out there and benefited greatly by the amount of guests that I can get and the relationships I'm able to build. So, and I encourage anybody that's in social media, don't underestimate the significance of LinkedIn, because LinkedIn to me is unbelievable. It's not only that you get guests out there, but in our case, since we have enough followers, we're able to also broadcast the shows, and we're very appreciated of all the people that follow us there as well. We're not one of those types of operations where, yeah, the video is important, but with George and I being old school kind of guys, we believe in audio and visual because that's the way we were brought up with terrestrial radio back in the days when we got our first start over 40 some years ago at WXYZ, which was ABC in Detroit. So really enjoy all the stuff here in the chat room. Back to you, Blake. Excellent. You know what? You're excellent. That's all I have to say. All right. With that said, again, I love that word. With that said, all right, good stuff. Unbelievable. All right, we're gonna go. So, Torri, the question is now, where do you go from here? Impressions of Chiefs fans.
Oh, well, where I go from here is sky's the limit right now. You know, of course, I'm thinking Coach Reed and the staff definitely wanted me to keep in contact with them.
Okay.
So I'm definitely going to do that throughout the season. I think I'm actually, asked me would I be able to make it to the Jacksonville game since I was here in Florida, which is the second week of the season. So I'll probably go and see everybody, you know what I'm saying,
Right.
and enjoy the game with them as well. Because the crazy part is I used to train a couple of other Jacksonville players, Travis Etienne and Snoop Connor from Ole Miss as well. So it's going to be interesting. I think I might go ahead and make it up there so I can see them dismantle them Jaguars right quick. So, but yeah, I definitely think that everything from the internship is going to work itself out. I made a big impression with the personnel, the coaching, and also the strength and conditioning area. So I think the first opening, the first thing comes up, I think I'll be fit right on in. So I'm just make sure I do my part and stay in contact with everybody and keep building those relationships as we do.
All right, Joshua, I know you have to run, but I look forward to catching up with you soon. Thanks for checking in with us. Yeah, you bring out a couple of interesting points, too. Number one, okay, you're going to Jacksonville, and you have information on the other team's opponent, so I'm sure he probably can use a lot of your input there, especially after the game. Again, it just shows that you're interested in the program and that you're willing to work your tail off. This shows you what hard work will do. You work hard, things will take care of itself. So that's good that you're able to go up to Jacksonville and see them there. I've seen a Chiefs Jacksonville game before when the Jaguars weren't so good, and now since these two teams have seen each other in the playoffs, I have a feeling this could be a very good rivalry going forward. I have only two more things I want to get to. Then I'm going to turn over to Jeremy and George, and we'll move things along. Obviously you returned to Florida. What's it been like here a little bit and reacclimating?
Man, just honestly a little depressed. I can't sit here and tell you different, because I was living while I was dreaming up there. You know what I mean? Like everything, every day was a dream. Like to wake up to be a part of that, the training camp, to be in meetings. I mean, I was there. Practice started at 9:05. I was there at 6:30 every day. You know what I mean? Like, and I didn't leave until we had the personnel meeting in the office at the end of the night. That was the last thing we had. So it was absolutely amazing being back here. Definitely, I had to give me another pick me up, because it's like, man, you gave me an appetizer. Now I'm ready for the whole buffet. You know what I mean? I'm ready to stay in Kansas City and be a part, because, after the first preseason game, just being able to have the treatment that they have, to fly, to get to the hotel, everything already set up, to get to the stadium and stuff, and my name on the locker, my coaching clothes and set up, all looking good. And just to be a part. And the crazy part was I'm sitting there in the locker room before the game, like, man, I need to be doing something. Like, I just feel like I need to do something. And then all of a sudden, Coach Mattnagy, the offensive coordinator, he came, he walked by me, he gave me a play call sheet. And he said, well, I need you to get my 7-on-7 together. I need you to get my team stuff together. I need you to get all that stuff together. You've been doing it since in training camp, so why stop now? So they let me know that he noticed me doing that in training camp. Like literally the first day of training camp, he was asked, at practice, he asked the coaches, he was like, coaches, help me out with personnel, calling out personnel and stuff. And from that day forward, he never had to call out no more personnel because I was calling everything on the thing. So he was like, so it made me feel good that he noticed it and caught on to it. And I know something good gonna come out of it. So I'm just, when that time comes, I'll be ready.
So it sounds like to me, if I understand correctly, and I'll go one more thing, and I'm turning it over to Jeremy for next in order. Okay. Mm-hmm. So returning to Florida was like a bit of a come down, but you knew that wouldn't be as bad because it sounds like you've instilled an impression on the Chiefs where they're going to bring it back. It's just a matter of when they're able to do it. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, very good. My last thing I'm going to ask you about Kansas City predictions from an insider's perspective. What should fans be aware of?
Patrick Mahomes on another mission.
Okay.
He's on another mission. When I say he's on another mission, and just to be able to see firsthand, because I sat down with him and asked him, I said, how does it feel to be the number one player in the world voted by your peers.
Right.
He said, Coach, you know, you know how fast he talk. He talk real fast, but he said, Coach, it actually feels good, but I want to do it again. He's like, I kind of put it behind me once we got them rings. So he's like, I want to prove myself again. So it's like every year he has a determination and a chip on his shoulder to prove himself again. So with that being said, first of all, and to answer this question about this prediction, I think they're gonna win it again, if not close.
All right.
Yeah,
So one thing that entered my mind: how did it feel to be addressed coach by Patrick Mahomes?
it felt good. And speaking that, he knew more than that what I did. And when I say the crazy part is, and I can tell you this, the coaches, the offensive coaches don't talk in the meeting. Patrick Mahomes talk in the meeting.
Wow,
that's first and foremost. Like he talks in the meeting. Coach let him do the talking, and he knows it inside and out. You know, so with Blaine Gabbert and Shane and Chris, the other quarterbacks that's there, everybody want to learn from him. Everybody want to learn from him and to see how much he actually knows, and he shares it with everybody. You know, everybody in that room. You know, so it was a blessing to actually see and watch him break down film and certain techniques and tendencies by certain people, even your own teammates. You know, he started picking up and showing guys certain things. You know, so for him to address it and talk to me about certain things, if the running back messed up or a step wrong, he'll tell me, you know, Coach, hey, he need to slow down or he going too fast. Coach, get him right. You know, I need you know what I'm saying? Don't throw my timing off, you know. So, and everybody made it a issue to make sure that timing was on so it wouldn't throw heels off. And the crazy part is, even when one play, we was at practice and we ran a screen to Sky Moore. And before he did it, he told me, he like hit me on my elbow. He said, watch this. So he went out and ran a screen to Sky Moore and threw the ball behind his back to him. He was looking right and threw it behind his back left.
Interesting.
And I'm like, you see, like you just did, like seriously, you know what I mean? So he has fun out there. So, you know, like I said, just to him address me and talk to me, and, you know, it was a blessing.
Okay, you know what? Jeremy's going to be having a show at the bottom of the hour. So first of all, before you ask Torri some questions, I want you to let your fans preview what you have going at 10:30, Jeremy, and also let everybody know how they can find you. Then you can ask him, and if you have to leave early, that's no problem. Get your questions in. George and I will take it home.
Yep, no problem. You can find me at Kneecap Biting with the Detroit Lions, and my show tonight is a little bit of the fan cave chat mixed with a pregame show for the preseason game between the Jags and the Lions, where the Lions travel. Or the Panthers and the Lions, excuse me. We just played Jags last week. We don't want to do that again. But it looks like the Panthers are only going to play Bryce Young a series or two, and it looks like Matt Corral, they're going to give him time to develop as that backup quarterback. But who knows? If Matt Corral does better than Bryce Young has done this preseason, he might have a chance to supplant him until Bryce Young gets a better grasp of the playbook, because he has not done well this preseason. So that's an interesting aspect to watch on the game. That being said, you can also find me here on the Pundit, the Professor and the Pupil. You can find me on the Fire Up. I'll be also heading up the Fire Up Wisconsin show. So I'll be helping Scott as much as I can. And occasionally, he might actually bring me in on Inside the Pigskin for a little football talk.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Right now, that's in the cards. We'll just see what happens. Okay. Yeah. Right now, I want to make sure, you know, my primary goal with this guy is, he talked about my pet project story. He's one of them. Jeremy definitely is. And he's not afraid to tell you, because he was very enthusiastic. He's one of my pet projects. I love his energy. But I like to develop people at a slow pace and make sure they perfect what they're on. And when they perfect what they're on, then I got news for you. There's always opportunity, but I'm a realist, so I want to make sure that he's really, really good on Fire Up and Professor and People, because those are shows that really right now are going to be we're going to be working on it. And the Fire Up Wisconsin show is a really important show because obviously the Packers are involved. So yeah, Jeremy, nobody's ever forgotten about
You
you
had
on
to
Inside
mention that
Christian,
name.
but you have a larger role, okay, on those other shows. You understand the 2 and the 3, and I know that you're very conscious of that, aren't you, Jeremy?
Yes, sir.
Okay, boy. Okay, all right. Got a few questions to ask Torri. The floor is yours.
Yes, with your background being with the sports and athletic development, what did you see the difference at the NFL level? Because I know you help people coming out of college transition into the NFL. At the NFL level, did you see a big difference in their regimen?
Very big difference. Detail. I mean, to the T. When I say it
Right.
was to the T of running routes, certain steps, you know, quarterback. I mean, everything. I mean, it was when I say it was to the T, the detail. You cannot get off that detail, and that detail is highly like pushed.
Right.
You know, so I mean, if you running it for an example, my running backs had to turn their head a certain way on majority of their plays, and if you turn your head a different way, you throwing off something. You know what I mean? So that I think it's just preparation and detail. A lot of people prepare, but being detailed is something a lot of people they try to push, but kind of start getting lackadaisical with the lack of talent maybe to execute it. Coach Reed ain't going for that.
Right.
He
And
ain't
then
going for that.
the only other real question I have is I know that in that first game, Pacheco had a little something going on. And I know he's back practicing again. So that's good for him. I'm glad to hear he's healthy because when I watch him run, and I'm as much as I hate to say this, because we got to play them week 1, he looks like he hurts the ground when he steps. Oh man. Right when I had a good point.
No, it's okay. He's got the audio. Go ahead. Keep asking your question.
So, what do you think about Isaiah Pacheco and his potential in the NFL?
Well, I don't think he does.
No, last time, remember he got out and came back. Didn't
That's
even
okay.
realize
Well,
he
it's all
got
right. I'm
out.
not worried about it. Well, I mean,
Yep.
obviously, expect me on back in a moment. But meanwhile, good flow here. Everybody, I hope you're enjoying this presentation of Fire Up. My name is Scott Morgan, Roth Motor City Manmouth. Please be joined by Jeremy Ballrick and George Eichhorn. Obviously, we had a very good show at the beginning with
He's almost
Pundit,
back.
and I'm sure we'll get these technical. There, he's back. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, and the other thing I was asking was about Isaiah Pacheco, and I'm glad he's healthy because that's good for the Chiefs. It's bad for my Lions, but it's good for the Chiefs. But and you're muted before you answer, so just to let you know, Torri.
Oh,
There we
okay.
go. So when he runs, it looks like he uses his feet to hurt the ground. He has such a ground pounding run to him. And it's not so much of a quick burst. He reminds me of a more powerful version of Le'Veon Bell. But once he gets through that hole, he has that burst and gets to his top end speed quick. What did you see with Isaiah Pacheco, with you being the assistant running back coach?
Well, with him, when I first started watching him, he runs with full aggression.
Like I said,
Full
he hurts
aggression.
the
Yes,
ground.
yes, he hurts the ground. His feet are heavy, but the crazy part is what I seen with Pop, as we call him. He's his how can I say his fluency is not all the way there yet. Okay, he's raw talent. His fluency is not all the way there yet. His arms and his legs go probably the same way. You know how some people may do same arm, same leg when it's supposed to be opposite arm, opposite leg. He'll get to the point where he's doing same arm, same leg a lot of times. So his fluency, when I say that, but his feet, I worked on his feet a little bit more and did a little bit more with him to try to help get his feet quicker. But the thing is, he had to be with him. I had to get him a kind of a heavy ball so he can be able to hold the ball, but be able to move his other arms in the point where it's working with his feet or whatever a lot better, so it can be a little smoother than just like almost like a robot. or whatever. But like I asked him and told him, I said, I want you to pray for 10 to 12 years instead of 4 to 5. You know what I mean? Because he runs so hard.
Right. He runs that hard. He's one of those guys you want to see do well. I liked him coming out of college. He was one of those day 3 sleepers that I said, watch this kid. He's got some speed, but I like the way he pounds the rock through the hole, because that's more important, especially in the running back by committee game. You know, that being patient behind the line like he is, where he sees the hole develop and then gets through it. That's a very important trait for running backs, in my opinion.
Definitely. You know, that's one thing that we learned. Even I learned from the great Marshall Faulk: patience to the hole, speed through the hole.
Right.
You know,
I mean, that's what I saw. But it takes him a second because, and I think it's a lot to do with that same arm, same leg. It takes him a second to get up to that speed, but once he's there, he's gone.
And see,
is that what you were trying to work with him on? Is getting into it?
Yeah, to the point where
right
it's
arm,
smoother.
left leg.
Yeah. See, you had to realize he's such a hard runner that when I say he uses everything, including his head. Like he'll start, his head get the bobbing and going, and his arms and everything going. Like it's like he can't do one without the other. So that's what we was trying to work on a little bit in the midst of doing training camp. So you're probably gonna see a little bit more difference there. If he kept it going since I've been gone, you're gonna see probably a big difference in pop while he there this year. I would say probably at least about 1,100 to 1,200 yards.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for your time and talking with me, Coach. It was a pleasure.
Anytime,
and
pleasure.
if you're free that Friday or that Wednesday before they play the Kansas City Chiefs that night, I would love to talk to you with the pregame show.
Let's do it. I'm with you.
All right,
Just
I'll
let
send
me
you
know.
an invite.
Okay, I appreciate it.
All right, Jimmy. Good luck with your other show, okay? And we'll see
Thank
you on
very
Sunday.
much, guys. It was a pleasure. I love being a part of Fire Up.
There you go. All right, thank you, Jeremy. Good luck on your show. Okay. All right, we're gonna now. It's just the three of us, George, Torri, and I. All right, George, go ahead and ask Torri some questions.
Yeah, Torri. Of course, everybody is excited in Detroit. I'm sure you've heard that there's a lot of hype here on the Lions side. Jared Goff, and they finished just half a game out of the playoffs or something like that last year. Beat Green Bay on the last day of the season, and finished above 500. And now most of the pundits are saying that they're better than Minnesota, they're better than Green Bay, and certainly better than Chicago. What are your thoughts about Kansas City's first game opponent, the Detroit Lions, coming into town at Arrowhead? And it's going to be a tough nut to crack, obviously, for Dan Campbell and the Lions.
I think I got all faith in Dan Campbell and his staff. I got faith in their players, but they're not going to be ready for what Kansas City has to bring to the table. Because you as long as 15 back there, he's unstoppable in a lot of ways. And now, I really like the way Dan Campbell runs his team and get his team prepared, because they, it's a reflection off the head coach as well a little bit too. And I like the route that Detroit is going. And I think Goff is actually going to start making some more noise as he was when he was in the Rams, when he had that good year. I think he'll make a lot of noise in Detroit, and I think he's getting comfortable for that. And they building around him for sure. They building around him, but you are not finna stop number 15 on the opening night. At home. As quick, as good as Detroit think they are, number 15 gonna make it even better. He gonna turn it up a whole notch, and I think he makes things look different because he knows. And I know Goff knows, but just being able to see Patrick Mahomes in his element now is very different. It's very different.
It is. And another question I had, and this is a little bit different kind of question, but over the years, and Scott knows this, there's been, I call it like a little simmering rivalry between Kansas City and Detroit. I don't know if you know this, Torri, but the founder of the Chiefs, Mr. Hunt, Lamar Hunt, once tried to steal the Thanksgiving Day game away from Detroit, Michigan, and downtown Detroit. And there's always been this little, this tenseness between the two organizations. And then, of course, when he passed away, I believe his wife took over the team. And Detroit was a similar situation when Mr. William Clay Ford died. Of course, Martha Firestone Ford took over, and now she stepped aside. She's in her 90s, and she gave it over to Sheila, her daughter. So, but all that being said, did you have a chance to meet any of the Hunt family? I mean, I know the granddaughter's been in the news a lot, and the family's still very much the football family that founded that franchise back in the old AFL days. Do you ever see any of the family members or that when they were at practice or anything?
I met them.
Oh, you did? Good.
I met them.
Awesome.
Like they came and spoke to the team. Well, I'm gonna say the son did. I think it was the son. But he spoke with the team. He stayed around and talked to everybody. He met with us when we was there as well. And I shook his hand, talked for a minute, talked football. And I mean, he was so receptive. And the crazy part is the Chiefs organization is not a very big organization. Like, they don't have a whole lot of workers, but they do have quality workers, if that makes sense. So they have, they don't, like my best friend told me that, he works with Washington, and he said they got over 3,000 employees in Washington for the Commanders. Yeah. And I know Kansas City don't have nowhere near that. Probably 100 and something, if that, maybe, you know what I mean? So, yeah, but they have, they everybody, you could tell why they're such a prestige organization, why they always been, on a A++.
Absolutely,
you know what I mean? And I was able to see firsthand because he was very receptive. He wasn't acting too big to talk to anybody or to be around. He wanted to talk and chit chat with everybody. And he stayed around. He talked in the players' meeting. He came over to the dorms afterwards and sat down with everybody and just relaxing, talking. And then, how coaches sit there and tell all their little stories and stuff like that. So that was the funniest thing ever, because I sat and listened to all of them. I wasn't going nowhere, So, but it was actually, so it was humbling to see that, you know what I mean, that you was the owner and the president of this team, this organization, and you were able to sit and just enjoy talking to everybody.
That's good to know. Thank you for sharing that, Torri. I'm going to turn it back over to Scott.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so Torri, yeah, I guess it is pretty interesting. My heart obviously has been with the Detroit Lions. I've certainly grown up in that organization. And yet this year they had the opportunity to face the Chiefs, coming off a very hot conclusion. And a lot of people are counting on them possibly to reach the playoffs. So with that said, okay, how do you feel that the Kansas City Chiefs are feeling about their opening day opponent? Are they really, really taking them seriously? And, how hard do you prepare for a team that could be on the threshold of perhaps reaching the postseason? I don't think Andy Reid would not take anybody seriously, but adding the Lions with their offensive dimensions, and they're no longer a team that sneaks up on you, even though they haven't gotten to the playoffs. They're a team that people are going to have to pay attention to. So what's the approach over in the Harry S. Truman Sports Complex?
The crazy part is they've been prepped for Detroit. They've been prepped for Detroit, and they're continuously prepping through preseason for Detroit. So Coach Reid don't care who it is. His thing is preparation. And when I say they're taking them very serious, they're taking them very serious. Very. Yeah, and just to see how like you have to realize, like even during camp, coach would have some of Detroit stuff. We running some of Detroit stuff on from Spags' defense. He'll hey, run some of this for me, run some of this. So even in the midst of preseason games, they're still preparing for Detroit. And so I think with that, coach definitely is looking forward to this, because he knows that they had a target on their back. And everything is gonna come in there hungry. It's like their Super Bowl. They're gonna come out in there ready to dismantle the Kansas City Chiefs. Literally, you know what I mean? So, I pray that all is healthy on both sides. But even Detroit's preparation, and I know y'all Detroit fans, and so forth,
No,
so
I'm not a
on.
fan, Torri. My son, I'm not a fan of nobody. I'm in the media. I'm expected to be objective, regardless of who the opponent. I think as time goes in the journalism business, yeah, or I've covered the team and all that, and I do know that I don't ever nothing against fans, but when you're a professional in the business for a long time, I think the fanhood goes out of you very quickly when you're working a game. It's the truth, Torri.
It is.
When you're working again, oh, it really does. I mean, how many times, George, have we been taught back no jury in the press box and all
Yeah.
that business?
Yeah.
Or we'll show you the DOOR. Okay, so I mean, but that's just how we're trained as hardcore journalists. So yeah, I believe that. Who was a scout quarterback though for the Chiefs? Preparing for the Lions.
Shane, number 12. Shane, because he's short, but he can throw and he can run.
Okay.
He can throw and he can run a little bit, but he's just a shorter version of Jared Goff.
Oh.
Okay.
He's a shorter version of Jared Goff. But don't get it twisted. 15 was in there. Like literally. He the crazy part is like, when we do walkthroughs, Mahomes be on defense.
Really?
He plays the defense. He plays the secondary.
Wow.
When the other quarterbacks are going, he plays the secondary, and he started mixing up the secondary calls and stuff like that to what he's seen from the defenses.
By the way,
So
did Patrick Mahomes give you his phone number?
I got his phone number. And everything, like, because he actually wanted to give me some of his stuff, like some of his apparel. Because he was like, oh, I want to give you some apparel and stuff for you left, but he missed giving it to me. So before we left, after the game, New Orleans, he gave me his number, and he told me I need you to send me your address. So when I do send it, I know I'm gonna send it to you, because I want to make sure you get it.
Yeah,
So,
well, think about it down the road. I know you have to get there first, but I wouldn't mind having you and I and George and Patrick Mahomes on the show together, the four of us. How does that sound?
that sounds wonderful.
Well,
He definitely be open to it.
yeah, well, good. That's okay. I got news for you. I don't know if you've ever told him anything about me, and I'm not really worried about it, but love to certainly talk to him a little bit, especially with you there. So, but we'll see what you get the job first, and we'll focus on making plans later, man. I know what
I'm with that.
I know what I loved about you was when you were in Kansas City, you still stayed in touch with us and participated in shows. So I knew where your heart and your head was at anyway. So
Oh yeah,
it'd be
you
cool.
know it.
You and I and George and Patrick Mahomes, well, I'll promote that really hard.
Yeah,
Don't worry.
I'm pretty sure you will have a few more questions to ask.
A few would be mildly stating the obvious. If I had less, they'd call me the Motor City Mild Mouth. If I had more, they'll continue with my existing name, which, by the way, I did trademark. I can sell merchandise on. So good stuff, man. I'm so proud of my boy. I really am. And it's a good opportunity to bring you back on. I think a lot of people like to know what your journey is, how far you've come, but where you're going to go. Because when we brought you on Sports Exchange on another network, you were really, trying to find your footing a little bit. And I think it's so cool that not only have you found it, but you've been persistent at what you're doing. And I think, folks, that's a lesson to be learned here, that if you're persistent in what you're doing, okay, then it's inevitable things will go your way, but you got to work hard and you got to stay with it.
Got to.
And I commend you for doing that. George,
Absolutely.
any final questions for you and Torri?
Well, I want to say thank you, first of all, Torri, because you've confirmed my beliefs, and that is that Patrick Mahomes is good for football. He's good for Kansas City. He's good for America. I mean,
Yeah.
I look at him and I still see this excitement in him and this raw talent. And he's not like Tom Brady. They're all different. Jared Goff.
Hmm.
I mean, every quarterback is different. But in Patrick, even though I'm not a Chiefs fan, I see this guy that's a professional, yet he's having fun. He's
Hmm.
staying in shape. He loves to be around people, and he loves his teammates. And again, I'm not trying to just butter the guy up, but he's been truly good for the NFL.
Yeah, I see
Well,
it.
I mean, he's a guy that's hard to root against, regardless of
Yeah,
what you are. And I
yeah,
always want to see. I've always been a firm believer that the athletes, individuals you root for, are the ones that are humble and that work hard. There is no way, in my mind, that if you're humble and you work hard, you got to root for them.
Got
Why
to.
not? Well, you
Got
don't
to.
see Patrick Mahomes getting into off-field incidents at all. I'm sure he probably cringes when every player wrecks their career doing it. I mean, but at least he knows in his mind he was raised right, and obviously couldn't have ended up with a better coach than he did with Andy Reid. And obviously, you're finding out because it seems like you've developed a very good relationship with Andy Reid, like a father-son connection. Did he
Yeah.
ever feel, in some ways, that you felt like he was a father figure to you?
I always. I mean, from the time I talked to him, first time I talked to him to the first time I saw him and met him in person. Because he's always asking, am I even being there every day? He was asking, are you having fun? You enjoying? Like he wants you to enjoy working. Like, and that's what I told Coach Nagy. I said, man, do we ever work around here? Because I feel like like I don't feel like we working. Like I'm just enjoying every aspect about it because it's all of this legendary status that's around, and he overlooking and overseeing everything.
Yeah,
So everybody, it's amazing to see and to understand. Like I said, because a lot of coaches don't, in his age, don't actually sit up and install plays like that. Y'all don't understand. He up for a while,
right.
going through every single little detail on these plays. And you talking about probably 15 to 16 to 20 some plays in a day. And he's up doing it. Like it ain't the young coaches, it's Coach Reid. You know what I
Right.
mean? He calling it out, he going through everything. So he keeps everything wonderful. Like he keeps everything flowing.
yeah.
He keeps
Did you
everything
see
flowing.
many? Did you see many Chiefs alumni there during your time over there?
They did. They had several doing practice. They had a lot of them. They brought
Okay.
some of the older guys out like Will Shields and stuff like that too. So they'll come in and then they enjoy practice. They make sure they're good, taken care of, and then afterwards they'll talk to the players and talk to everybody and stuff like that too. So I wasn't able to take no pictures with them because I ain't never take my phone on the field for practice. But I definitely, when I say it was probably about 3 times during camp, you had a whole lot of different old Chiefs, you know what I'm saying, come back through
Yeah,
and
Yeah.
and say hi to everybody and just enjoy the day of being out there.
that's really
Great.
cool.
Great.
Well, yeah, we're going to end it on that note. Obviously, this is a story that we'll keep tracking, and obviously, we're going to be bringing you on more and more shows because I've added now pundits view to my and Jacob Krishner. Obviously, you'll be one of the first guests on pundits view, which is a one-on-one type of show. He'll have an opportunity, and Jacob's a really talented guy that
Oh
I'm
yeah,
glad that we brought on here. I think you got a taste of it when we were on it earlier. But
yeah.
with that said, it's great to have you on tonight's edition of Fire Up. Especially, it's so cool about it is it is the final week of the preseason, and
Appreciate
you've lived a training camp before. I remember many years ago, I had an opportunity to live a training camp with the Miami Dolphins in donshula, and it was unbelievable too. But now that you're living it in this day and age. One thing I forgot to ask you, you have Coach Reed's number. Does he ever say, call me if you ever need me for advice or anything like that?
He tell me every time, make sure you keep in touch. This is his exact words. And,
Good.
I try not to bother him, but I'm gonna bother him coming up in a minute through the season. So he already know that he's gonna bust out laughing when I start texting, because I always try to text him a little funny stuff to get him to laugh or something like that. But he definitely wants me to keep in contact with him and his staff, because everybody gave me their number and stuff. So I'm definitely going to do that, because I kind of know that's what it's about too. Keep in contact, and first thing comes up, opportunity knocks, then I can open the door.
Well, what I'm going to do, just so you know, is I'm going to text you this version of the show, and then you can, if you want to forward it to him, tell him that we're really impressed with what he's doing, and we're very thankful that he's giving you an opportunity, and let him know, that I'll do everything in my power to promote anything I can. But you let him know, and I don't care whether he comes on the show or not, although I'd like to get it. Don't get me wrong. This isn't about me and any self gain. Just let them know that, I'm here to help you any way I can. And one of these days, it would be nice to catch up with them when the situation presents. So I'm not looking for anything out of it, except you have a permanent opportunity to work there and gain. And if our platform helped you get there a little, then that's icing on the cake. So I'll text you the show, and then feel free to forward to them and Mahomes, and we'll let the rest play itself out. So.
All right, we're definitely gonna do it. I'm gonna put it out there.
Well, I know you will. I know about that. Hey, listen, Torri, I loved you from the beginning when we were doing it, and the fact that we've been so loyal to each other all this time just makes you just an unbelievable son of mine, and that's how I really value what you mean to me. And George has had an opportunity to finally get to know you on a more first-hand basis. Let's go back to a little comment before we wrap it up. Mahomes drops back to pat. I'm like, oh, well, okay, that's one of Jeremy's guys. Oh, well, wishful thinking. I guess we'll see what happens with the opener. But James, thanks for putting it out there anyways. You beat it under the deadline. So with that said, okay, Torri, any way you want to let everybody know how to get a hold of you?
All I have is an Instagram, TD Harmon 28 on Instagram, and Torri Harmon on Facebook.
Okay, and obviously there's two authors on there. The one that I see is underneath me. George, let Torri know about your book.
Yeah, I wrote a book on Detroit sports broadcasting, and Scott and I grew up in this town together for many years ago, and now I got a book called Detroit Sports Broadcasters on the Air. And there's a link to any of our viewers that want to buy the book. There's a link at the end of my column when I write for the South Florida Tribune under the Motor City Tribune banner. And you can reach me also at gicorn@yahoo.com, and on Twitter, some people call it X now, and that is SandGSports99. And also you can reach me at in LinkedIn as well under my name, George Eichhorn. So good to be part of it. I'm part of a number of shows that Scott has on the network here, Torri, the baseball show 108 Stitches and the Pigskin show, and it's just been a lot of fun doing these podcasts. He's great to have you on tonight.
And Torri, a little food for thought. George Eichhorn and I have been working together 43 and a half years.
Okay. Y'all older than me. It's about as long as I've been living.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot of different times from a lot of different people, let me tell you.
That's a lot of knowledge right there.
And well, look at this, George. I got to put this up before we close out. He says, you know what, George, I'll buy it for Ernie Harwell material alone. Ernie was part of my life. Very good, James. We appreciate that.
James.
Look at that. Don't worry. You can reach George Eichhorn, James Burgess with South Florida Tribune at gmail.com, and I'll forward it to him. So, all right, a little company information I want to attend to very quickly, and then we'll call it a night, just so you know that Fire Up is being broadcast around the world. The audio version of the show can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcasts. Please hit the red subscribe button on YouTube, South Florida Tribune. We're striving for 1,000 subscribers. Please also comment, like, and share the broadcast. Want to be a guest? No problem. A good way ticket to go out there and get there is through the chat room. So that's one way to do it. And again, the other way is send your topic ideas to South Florida Tribune at gmail.com. you want to advertise cost efficiently, call me at 954-304-4941. We broadcast live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, Twitter, X, whatever you call it, at Tribune South. Candy Ebling's behind the scenes does masterful work, both putting the broadcast up as well as contributing. A couple points of interest for all you guys out there. James Burgess, please think about this too. I'll be working on a book. I'm actually finishing the final touches on a book called Old School New Media versus New School Media. And I also have a textbook out there for those of you that are interested called Adjusting to New Media. So those should be released in the next 4 to 5 weeks. So I'll keep you posted on that. So I know, James, we're not trying to get you to buy a million books, but since obviously you have that mindset, knowledge is power, and you want to do things, more power to you. So I'm looking forward to getting those books out soon. So once again, on behalf of Jeremy Ballrick, Torri Harmon, George Eichhorn, my name is Scott Morton, Roth from Motor City Madball. Thank you for joining us on this edition of Fire Up, and we look forward to having Ralph Williams on next week. But it's been a great broadcast tonight. Good night, everybody.